before the monsters, before the gods, before 10 years of war and 10 years of wandering. There was a man. His name was Odysseus, king of Ithaca, a small island. Nothing special, but the gods noticed him before he did anything great. Because Odysseus had something none of the other heroes had. Not strength. Achilles had that. Not beauty. Paris had that. Not divine blood. Half of Greece had that. Odysseus had a mind that worked differently from every other man alive. He was the only hero who could look at an impossible situation and find the third option nobody else saw. He was a husband, a father, a king who genuinely loved his people. He never wanted glory. He never asked for war. He had a wife he worshipped and a son he had just met. When they came to recruit him for the Trojan War, he pretended to be insane. He plowed his fields with salt. He put on a madman's performance so convincing that almost everyone believed him. Almost. They exposed him. And the moment they did, the moment he dropped the act, everyone in that room understood. This was the most dangerous man in Greece. Not because of his sword, because of what was behind his eyes. Christopher Nolan saw that. Matt Damon saw that. And on July 17th, 2026, the whole world will see it too. Nobody wanted this war. A Trojan prince named Paris came to Sparta as a guest and left with the queen, Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, wife of King Menelaus. What happened next changed the ancient world forever. Menelaus called in every debt, every alliance, every oath. Every king in Greece was bound by the oath of Tyndareus, sworn before Helen's marriage, to defend her husband if she was ever taken. Odysseus had sworn that oath, and he had just watched his infant son take his first steps. He didn't want glory. He didn't want war. He wanted to watch his son grow up. But an oath to the gods was not something you broke. So Odysseus went to Troy. For 9 years the war went nowhere. The greatest warriors in the world, Achilles, Diomedes, Ajax, couldn't break Troy's walls. Then Odysseus had an idea. Not a battle plan, not a new weapon, a story. He proposed building a giant wooden horse. Leave it outside Troy's gates as a supposed offering to the gods. Hide the best Greek warriors inside, then sail away. Make Troy believe the war was over. Every Greek commander called it madness. Odysseus said, "Trust me." The Trojans debated for hours. Some said burn it. Some said keep it. Cassandra, the prophetess, screamed that it was a trap, that it would destroy Troy. Nobody listened. They wheeled the horse through Troy's gates. That night, while Troy celebrated the end of the war, Odysseus and his men climbed out. And Troy burned. 10 years of war ended in one night. Not by the strongest warrior, by the man with the most dangerous mind. Achilles had killed thousands. Odysseus ended the war. There is a difference. And as Troy burned behind him, Odysseus turned toward home. He didn't know it would take another 10 years to get there. He didn't know the gods were already arguing about him. He just wanted to see his son walk. The war was over. Troy was ash. Odysseus was finally going home. Then he made the mistake that cost him everything. His ships stopped at the island of the Cyclops, a cave, food, shelter. His men wanted to rest. Odysseus wanted to know who lived there. That curiosity almost killed everyone. Polyphemus, son of Poseidon, a Cyclops the size of a mountain with one eye and no mercy. He trapped them in the cave, sealed the entrance with a boulder no army could move, and began eating Odysseus's men, 2 at a time, every morning, every night. Odysseus watched and planned. He found a massive wooden stake, sharpened it, hardened it in the fire. Then he did something only Odysseus would do. He introduced himself, not as Odysseus, as nobody. He got the Cyclops drunk on wine so strong it was meant for gods. And when Polyphemus fell into drunken sleep, Odysseus drove the burning stake into his eye. The Cyclops screamed so loud other Cyclopes came running. They shouted through the cave wall, "Who did this to you?" "Nobody," Polyphemus screamed. "Nobody did this." So they left. Odysseus escaped by hiding his men under the bellies of the Cyclops' sheep as they left the cave in the morning. It was perfect. Until Odysseus opened his mouth. As his ships pulled away from the island, he shouted back at the blinded Cyclops. He couldn't help it. He had to let the monster know who beat him. "My name is Odysseus, son of Laertes, king of Ithaca." The Cyclops heard the name and called to his father, Poseidon, god of the ocean, god of earthquakes, god of everything between Ithaca and Troy. Poseidon heard his son's prayer and turned the ocean against the man who blinded him. That one moment of pride, that one shout, cost Odysseus 10 years. The smartest man in the ancient world, undone by the most human thing imaginable. He just had to take credit. And the ocean never forgot his name. 5 times Odysseus should have died. 5 times he didn't. Number 5. Giants who destroyed 11 of his 12 ships in minutes. Odysseus watched from a cliff as his entire fleet burned below him. He cut his own ship's rope and ran. Every commander would call that cowardice. 1 ship survived. Number 4. Circe, a goddess who turned his entire crew into pigs before he even arrived. Odysseus walked into her palace alone, pressed his sword to her throat, and made a deal. His enemy became his greatest ally. Number 3. The Sirens. Every sailor who heard them died. No exceptions. Odysseus wanted to hear them. He tied himself to the mast, heard the most beautiful sound in the world, and survived. The only man in history to hear the sirens and live. Number 2. 6-headed monster on one side, ship-swallowing whirlpool on the other. Circe told him the truth he didn't want to hear. Lose 6 men or lose everyone. He made that choice. He heard their names. He remembered everyone. Number 1. His men killed the sacred cattle of the sun, God, while he slept. Zeus destroyed their ship with a single lightning bolt. Every man died. Odysseus survived clinging to wreckage, alone, paying the price for other people's choices. 5 times. 5 decisions. Not luck, just a mind that refused to stop working even when everything else had. After everything, the war, the Cyclops, the monsters, the shipwreck, Odysseus washed ashore on an island. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know how long he'd been at sea. He just knew he was alive. The island was Ogygia, and the woman who found him was Calypso. Not a monster, not an enemy, a goddess, immortal, impossibly beautiful, and completely alone. She had been alone on that island for eternity. No visitors, no companions, just the ocean in every direction. When she found Odysseus broken and half dead on her shore, she didn't see a mortal. She saw the answer to eternity. She healed him, fed him, loved him, and then she kept him, not with chains, not with violence. She offered him immortality. Live here forever. Never age. Never die. Never feel pain again. For a man who had survived 10 years of war and 10 years of monsters, that offer was not nothing. But every morning Odysseus walked to the same cliff and sat and stared at the ocean, toward Ithaca. 7 years he did this. Calypso watched him every morning, knowing he was thinking of another woman. She could have broken him. She had the power. She never did. Because you cannot imprison someone who has already given their heart away. In the end, it was Athena who intervened, who went to Zeus, who forced Calypso to release him. The day Calypso let him go, she helped him build his raft. She gave him food, clothing, directions, and she told him the truth. If you knew what waits for you between here and home, you would stay. He already knew. He left anyway. Every hero in Greek mythology had a patron god. Achilles had his mother, Thetis. Heracles had Athena's occasional help. Perseus had Hermes. But nobody, in all of Greek mythology, had what Odysseus had. Athena. Not occasionally. Not when it was convenient. From the moment the war ended, through every monster, every goddess, every shipwreck, every year of wandering, Athena never stopped working for him. She fought Zeus for him. She manipulated Calypso's release. She guided his raft by the stars. She appeared to him in disguise, as an old shepherd, as a young girl, as a friend he hadn't seen in years, always there, always protecting, always 3 steps ahead. But here's the question nobody asks. Why him? Athena is the goddess of wisdom. She chose the wisest mortal who ever lived. She didn't love him the way Calypso loved him. She loved him the way a creator loves their greatest creation. Because in Odysseus, a fully human mind working at its absolute limit, Athena saw the closest thing a mortal could ever come to divine intelligence. He didn't pray to her constantly. He didn't build her temples. He just kept thinking, against every impossible situation. And that, to the goddess of wisdom, was the most divine thing she had ever witnessed in a mortal. She never left his side, because she never wanted to. 20 years away, 10 years of war, 10 years of monsters and gods and impossible odds. And then, Ithaca. He made it. But nobody knew who he was. His own dog recognized him first. Argos, 20 years old, dying. The dog raised his head, wagged his tail, and died, having waited 20 years for his master to come home. Odysseus walked past without stopping, because if he had stopped, if he had shown emotion, the disguise would have broken. That moment cost him more than any monster. Inside the palace, 108 men, suitors, eating his food, drinking his wine, competing for his wife. Penelope had held them off for 20 years. She told them she would choose when she finished her weaving. Every night, she unraveled what she had woven. 3 years of that. Alone, waiting for a man she wasn't sure was alive. Odysseus watched all of this from inside his beggar disguise. He watched them mock him, throw food at him, laugh. He said nothing, because the plan required waiting. Penelope announced a contest, the bow of Odysseus. String it, if you can, and shoot an arrow through 12 axe handles in a row. 108 men tried. Not one could even string the bow. Then the beggar asked for a turn. They laughed. He strung it, shot the arrow. 12 axe handles, 1 shot. Then he turned, and the suitors understood, too late, who was standing in the room. 3,000 years. That's how long this story has survived. Not because of the monsters, not because of the gods, because of the man. Odysseus was never the strongest, never the fastest, never the most divine. He was the most human. He made mistakes that cost him everything. He let pride destroy 10 years of progress in one moment. He lost every single man who sailed with him. He cried on a goddess's island every day for 7 years. He was afraid, and he kept going anyway. That is not the story of a hero. That is the story of every person who has ever had to keep going when everything said stop. The Trojan War ended in one night because of a man who thought differently. The ocean tried to kill him for 10 years and failed. Every goddess who loved him eventually had to let him go, because he belonged somewhere, and nothing, not gods, not monsters, not time itself, could make him forget where that was. On July 17, 2026, Christopher Nolan tells this story with IMAX cameras and $250 million. Because some stories are too important to stop being told. The Odyssey is the original story of what it means to keep going. And 3,000 years later, we still need to hear it.